You feel the weight of it, don't you? That constant pressure in your chest, like an invisible hand pressing down on your ribs every time you check your email or walk past a billboard promising you financial freedom. It's not just stress. It's not just a tough phase. It's something far more insidious, a quiet, gnawing conviction that you're out of sync with the world around you, like you're speaking one language while everyone else is fluent in another. And no matter how hard you try to keep up, the conversation always ends in misunderstanding. You've been told to push through, to hustle harder, to manifest more. But every time you double down, the weight feels heavier, the anxiety inches closer. The nights become sleepless marathons where your mind replays every misstep, every rejection, every moment you dared to dream, only to be met with silence. You've tried therapy, affirmations, vision boards, side gigs, all the rituals of modern self-improvement. Yet the quiet despair remains stubborn and unshaken. Why does it persist? Why does success sometimes feel like chasing a mirage that recedes just as you get close? Here's the truth you've been avoiding. Your anxiety isn't a personal flaw. It's not a moral failing. It's not a sign you're weak or undisciplined or unlucky. It's a biological alarm system screaming at you because your brain's connection to your soul, your frequency, has been severed. You're not broken, you're being silenced. Let me tell you about Sarah. A few years ago, she was a rising marketing director at a tech startup, high salary, sleek apartment, a life that looked perfect from the outside. But every morning, she woke up with a knot in her stomach, so tight it felt like a fist squeezing her lungs. She'd lie there paralyzed, counting the seconds, until her alarm went off, dreading the emails, the meetings, the endless cycle of proving her worth. She'd go to yoga, she'd journal, she'd recite affirmations about abundance. Nothing worked, not really, because Sarah wasn't suffering from anxiety. She was suffering from disconnection. Her brain had been conditioned into a state of perpetual survival, and no amount of positive thinking could override the biological wiring of a hippocampus that had shrunk under the weight of chronic stress. Sound familiar? It should, because Sarah isn't unique. She's every person who's ever felt trapped in a life they didn't choose, but couldn't escape. You think this is about money, about success. It's not. It's about frequency. It's about the invisible waves your soul emits, and whether they are aligned with the flow of life itself. Your brain operates in different states, each with its own rhythm, its own vibration. You've probably heard of beta, the fast, busy, analytical state, where your mind races, where you're stuck in what if mode, where every problem feels like a mountain. This is the state of the modern world. It's the state of the office, of the 9 to 5, of the person scrolling through social media at 2 a.m., spiraling into worst-case scenarios. But there's another state, theta, a slower, deeper frequency, where intuition reigns, where creativity flows effortlessly, where solutions appear as if by magic. Theta is where the billionaires operate. It's where Steve Jobs said he got his best ideas not in meetings, but in the shower or walking in nature, when his mind dropped into that slower, more receptive rhythm. It's where athletes get in the zone. It's where artists lose themselves in flow. It's where you suddenly know the right move without logic, without hesitation. Theta is the billionaire brain wave because it's the frequency of receiving, not forcing, of trusting, not controlling. And here's the kicker: your hippocampus controls access to theta. When it's healthy, you float between states naturally. When it's damaged by stress, by noise, by the relentless demands of a system built to keep you exhausted, you get stuck in beta, trapped like a radio dial, stuck on static. The CIA knows this. They've studied it for decades. They've used sound frequencies to manipulate brain states, first in interrogation techniques, then in psychological warfare. They discovered that certain frequencies played at specific volumes and rhythms can shrink the hippocampus, inducing fear, compliance, and obedience. They called it neuroweapons, and they used them not on the battlefield, but in boardrooms, in media, in the constant bombardment of notifications that keep you scrolling, stressed and desperate. Big Pharma knows this too. They've spent billions developing drugs to treat anxiety, not by healing the brain, but by numbing it, by keeping you in a drugged beta where you're too sedated to question why you're so tired all the time, why your dreams feel impossible, why money is always just out of reach. And the system, oh, the system loves you in beta because beta is the state of consumption, of distraction, of endless scrolling, endless working, endless trying to fill the void with things that never satisfy. Beta is where you buy things you don't need with money. You don't have, believing that happiness is just one purchase away. Beta is where you stay in jobs you hate, relationships that drain you, habits that sabotage you, because anything else feels like too much effort. Beta is the perfect slave state, and the powers that be have spent centuries perfecting it. But theta is dangerous to the system, because in theta you remember who you are. You remember that abundance is your birthright. You stop chasing external validation and start trusting your intuition. You make decisions that align with your soul, not your survival instinct. You stop working for scraps and start co-creating with the universe. And that threatens everything, so they keep you in beta. They flood your brain with cortisol. They shrink your hippocampus with noise, with deadlines, with the illusion of scarcity. They make you believe that struggle is noble, that suffering is strength, that the only way to win is to outwork everyone else, even though the system is rigged, so you never truly win. But here's what they don't tell you: your hippocampus can heal, it can regrow, it can reopen the channel to theta. And when it does, everything changes. Let me tell you about Marcus, a former corporate attorney. Marcus spent 12 years billing 80-hour weeks, believing that wealth and worth were the same thing. He wore his exhaustion like a badge of honor, believing that if he just worked harder, he'd finally feel safe. He meditated, He took vacations. He even hired a life coach. But the emptiness remained. Then he stumbled upon research showing that chronic stress shrinks the hippocampus and that certain sound frequencies could reverse the damage. He started using a 7-minute daily ritual, just listening to a specific tone of frequency that gently massaged his brain back into theta. Within weeks, his mind cleared, his intuition sharpened, opportunities appeared without him chasing them. A client he'd forgotten about called out of the blue with a 6-figure project. A real estate deal fell into his lap. When he wasn't even looking, his wife noticed the change. "First year lighter," she said. And she was right. He wasn't just less anxious. He was alive in a way he hadn't felt since childhood. Marcus's story isn't magic, it's biology. It's neuroscience. It's the return of a frequency that was always yours to claim. Now you might be thinking, if this is real, why isn't everyone doing it? Because the truth has been buried. Because the people in power don't want you to know you can heal your brain with sound. They want you to keep buying their pills, their courses, their gurus, their quick fixes that don't address the root cause. They want you to believe that struggle is inevitable, that abundance is rare, that you have to earn your peace, but you don't. You were born with a hippocampus designed to connect you to the divine flow of life. Every child has it, until the world teaches them to shut it down, until they learn to ignore the whispers of their soul in favor of the loud, demanding voice of should, until they equate busyness with meaning, until they mistake exhaustion for productivity. So how do you reopen that channel? How do you shrink your stress and expand your consciousness? It starts with sound. For centuries, cultures around the world have used sound for healing. The ancient Egyptians chanted to stimulate brain growth. Tibetan monks used singing bowls to induce deep states of meditation. Indigenous tribes used drumming to alter consciousness and access wisdom. These weren't just spiritual practices, they were neurological technologies. They were ways to rewire the brain using the precise frequencies of the universe. Modern science has caught up. Studies at institutions like Stanford and Harvard have confirmed what shamans have known for millennia: specific sound waves can stimulate neurogenesis, the growth of new brain cells. In the hippocampus, they can shift brain wave states from beta to theta. They can reduce cortisol levels. They can increase serotonin and dopamine. They can quite literally rewire your brain for abundance. The key is entrainment, the phenomenon where your brain waves synchronize with an external rhythm. When you listen to a frequency of 430 to Hz or 520 8 Hz, your brain naturally falls into theta. When you combine it with binaural beats, where two slightly different frequencies played in each ear create a third perceived frequency, you accelerate the shift. It's not hocus pocus, it's physics, it's biology. It's your brain's built-in capacity to heal itself given the right stimulus. Think of it like a muscle. When you work out, you create micro tears in your muscle fibers. Your body repairs them, making the muscle stronger. When you listen to the right sound wave, you create micro stresses in your brain cells. Your brain repairs them, and in doing so strengthens the pathways to theta over time. Those pathways become dominant. You spend less time in beta, less time in survival mode, less time feeling like the universe is against you. Instead, you drift into flow, into trust, into the knowing that everything is working out. The 7-minute sound ritual isn't just a tool, it's a revolution. It's a way to hack the system that's been keeping you small. It's a way to remember that you are not a victim of circumstance. You are a being of infinite potential, and your brain is the antenna that tunes you into the frequency of miracles. Imagine waking up tomorrow and feeling lighter, not the fake I'm fine lightness that crumbles by 10 a.m., but a deep cellular lightness, the kind that makes you want to laugh for no reason. Imagine looking at your bank statement and feeling curiosity instead of panic. Imagine walking into a room and feeling the energy shift, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you're vibrating at a frequency that commands respect. Imagine having a conversation with your intuition so clear that you know what decision to make before your brain even has time to overthink it. This isn't wishful thinking, this is biology. This is how your brain was designed to operate. You are not meant to live in a state of constant stress. You are not meant to chase success like a dog chasing its tail. You are meant to receive, to trust, to flow. But flow doesn't come from forcing, it comes from aligning, and alignment starts with healing your hippocampus. Let me tell you about Alina, a single mother working 2 jobs to keep her kids in school. Alina had every reason to feel defeated. Medical bills piled up, her car broke down, her landlord raised the rent. She prayed every night for a miracle. She even tried manifestation journals, visualizing her debts disappearing. But nothing changed until she discovered the 7-minute sound ritual. She'd listen before bed, letting the frequencies wash over her like a warm current. Within a month, she started noticing small shifts. A client paid her early, a scholarship she'd forgotten about came through. A friend offered her a side gig that turned into a steady income. She didn't win the lottery, she didn't get a promotion, but her brain started operating differently. She stopped catastrophizing. She started trusting, and trust, as it turns out, is the ultimate currency of abundance. Alina's story isn't unique because the ritual isn't magic, it's neuroplasticity in action. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself based on input. Feed it stress, and it strengthens the pathways of fear. Feed it sound waves that induce theta, and it strengthens the pathways of trust. It's that simple, it's that profound. The world will tell you that scarcity is inevitable, that struggle is natural, that you have to earn your peace. But the truth is, peace isn't something you earn, it's something you remember. It's the frequency your soul has been calling you back to since the day you were born. And the only thing standing between you and that frequency is a shrunken hippocampus and a world that benefits from keeping it That way, so you have a choice. You can keep forcing, keep hustling. Keep believing that if you just work harder, think smarter, manifest, louder, the breakthrough will come. Or you can do something radical. You can restore your frequency. You can give your brain the sound wave it's been starving for. You can shift from beta to theta and watch as the universe starts conspiring with you instead of against you. The 7 minutes you spend with this ritual aren't just 7 minutes. They are 7 minutes that could rewrite your entire life. They are 7 minutes that could dissolve the anxiety that's been gnawing at you for years. They are 7 minutes that could reconnect you to the part of yourself that's always known abundance is possible. You don't need to do more. You don't need to try harder. You just need to listen, to let the frequency do the work, to trust that your brain is capable of healing itself. If given the right signal, the universe isn't ignoring you, it's waiting for you to remember your power. And once you do, nothing will ever be the same. So click the link, follow the ritual, let the sound wave rewire you, and prepare to meet the version of yourself who's been waiting all along, light, free, and finally in sync with the rhythm of life.